Hi, I'm Diane Thompson with Red State New Media. Welcome to Kitchen Campaign School. Today, we're going to talk about building an email list. I'm going to give you the same kind of advice I would give any good friend of mine sitting in the kitchen having a nice glass of wine with me. And you know what? After school, I'm going to tell you all about this wine, and this is one that I think you're going to want to know about. These days, the buzz is all about social networking. Twitter, MySpace, Facebook, YouTube, you name it. You may be wondering, why even bother with email? Well, the fact is that email is still one of the most productive ways of communicating with your supporters and building a relationship with them. So today, what we're going to talk about is how to build an email list that's really going to be productive for you. And we'll talk about how to combine it with social networking so that you get the most out of your efforts. Contrary to what some people might think, email is not going away anytime soon. Let me relate a little story to you. A few years ago, I was a vice president in a large software company. There was a contingent in the company that thought that when e-commerce or online shopping became popular, that would totally do away with brick and mortar stores, that no one would ever go to the store anymore. My goodness, why would you ever actually go to a store when you could buy everything you needed online? Well, here we are several years later, and I don't know about you, but I know in my neighborhood there are still a lot of bricks and mortar stores. Well, it's really the same way with email. With e-commerce and bricks and mortar stores, the two were complementary to each other, and they provided alternate ways for businesses to interact with their customers. And it's the same way with email.
And so it is with email, social networks of any variety, websites, and any other form of online communication. Different tactics accomplish different tasks. And used well, they'll provide a campaign with a 360-degree program for cultivating supporters. I recently read an article that differentiated email from social networks this way. Social media is for awareness, and email is for retention. And I think this is a good way to look at it. Either tactic is not a substitute for the other. So, that said, let's talk about a fundamental challenge in successful email marketing, and that's building a quality list. Clients frequently ask us how they can build their list. Well, there are four main avenues to acquiring email addresses. The first and best way is to organically build your own list from supporters who have requested that you add their name to your list. The list will always perform the best, and you can be certain that these people will always be glad to hear from you. If you're asking for donations, volunteers, sending an invitation to an event, or simply asking for input on an issue, this list will always respond better than any other list you might use. And that's because you've established a relationship with these people. In addition to prominently promoting signing up for your list on your website, you can also promote this via your social networks. For example, do you have an online community like this one? Add your newsletter sign-up box and let people know why they would want to subscribe. When you publish a new issue, tweet about it and encourage your followers to link to your website to subscribe and to read the current issue that you posted. And don't forget to ask people to sign up when you go to an event. Make sure you give people a compelling reason to sign up. Let them know about the great content you're going to provide, and then make sure that you do. Great content will also inspire your subscribers to forward your message to others and encourage them to subscribe. Another good method for starting your message and building your email list is to send a message to a list owned by an organization or an individual that's supportive to your cause. Let's say you're running for Congress and a local Republican club has endorsed you. Ask them to send an email message, which would have been provided by you, to their list. This is like receiving a personal introduction to all of their members. In the message, you should provide encouragement and incentive not only to support your candidacy through donations and volunteer efforts, but also to sign up for your own email list. Then they become part of your list, and you can contact them as often as it makes sense. Just think about how much leverage you can gain by asking your supporters to introduce you to their email contacts. We're often asked about purchasing an email list. While this isn't something that we usually recommend because, quite frankly, these lists seldom perform very well, and they are expensive, but it is a method to consider. Lists fitting many different criteria are available from a variety of sources and of varying quality. If you do go this route, you should make sure that you ask a lot of questions. Ask about the opt-in process so that you understand where the names came from. Then make sure you're planning an aggressive promotion to encourage people to sign up for your own email list so that you build your own asset while recruiting your volunteers and your donors. Here's a more controversial option, but one that most candidates should pursue. For a nominal charge, candidates can get a database of names, addresses, phone numbers, and email addresses of registered voters in their district from the Registrar of Voters. Usually this information is also provided to their county Republican Party, which can distribute it to candidates at no charge. The number of email addresses available will always vary, but for a congressional district, it may number several thousand. Here's the controversial part. Since these people technically have not opted in to receive your message, they may consider your message to be the dreaded spam. From a legal perspective, though, there's no reason not to contact these people via email. Can-spam laws don't regulate political communication, and these databases are provided to candidates specifically to facilitate their contact with voters. We do recommend, though, using these lists judiciously. Don't overmail to them, and always make sure to include a prominent unsubscribe option. While you should expect a low response from this list, email is such an economical medium that candidates can greatly benefit from well-crafted messages sent to this list. Another way to use the lists from the Registrar of Voters is to submit them to an email append process. This process takes a list of postal addresses and matches it against a large database to find an email address to go with that postal address. Typically, there'll be a match for about 15 to 20% of your list, so this may be a significant number of addresses. The process includes an opt-out option, which is not as good as asking people to opt in, but it does provide an advantage. Email append can also be controversial, but it's perfectly legal, and some of our clients have had very good luck with it.
One of the things that we can do for a client is to develop and implement a comprehensive strategy to build a great email list. You can see there are a lot of different paths to take, and it really just depends on your goals and your resources. Speaking of resources, if you haven't seen our episode of Kitchen Campaign School on how to use email to build relationships with your supporters and to raise money, well, then you should really take a look. It's on our website, and it's also posted on YouTube. Oh, but before we go, I want to tell you what kind of wine we're drinking today. This is really the perfect wine for these days. This wine is a great bargain, even at twice the price, but I'll tell you what, I found it for just $7 at Costco. What are we drinking? Today we're drinking a wine called Ménage à Trois. Now don't get any crazy ideas. The Ménage à Trois just means that it's a blend of 3 particular wines. It's a blend of Zinfandel, Cabernet Sauvignon, and Merlot. And it's really a very tasty wine, and I know that if you give it a try, you're really going to enjoy it, and especially if you could find it for $7 like I did. Bye-bye.